They say it takes less than 2 generations to forget a world. It took us one. By the time we resurfaced in the northern highlands, tucked beneath dense forest canopies and patchwork solar fields, the United States was a name spoken like a ghost. Not gone, not buried, but changed. Withered into something smaller, angrier, clinging to pride while the world moved on. The Cold World War hadn't ended. It had simply cooled into a long, uneasy truce where data moved slower and trust was rationed like fuel. Nations no longer shook hands. They scanned each other's pulse and code stacks and called it diplomacy. Trade resumed, but in strange, brittle ways. Barter reemerged. So did private currencies, verified by local AI clusters, not central banks. BRICS credits, Crown Ledger tokens, local chain indexes. The old dollar? It survived, but only within the crumbling borders of its birth. In our settlement, Greystone, we called it, we built something different. No flags, no borders, no slogans, just skill and sweat and a shared rule. Nobody owns more than they need. Nobody leaves another behind. We weren't saints. We argued. We failed. Sometimes we rebuilt the same damn water filter 5 times before it worked, but it was ours. And that mattered more than anything. Amma taught again. Real teaching. History without edits. Science without political wrappers. I helped maintain our mesh net, splicing old satellite links and open source orbital mirrors to bring the outside world in. Carefully. Selectively. Some nights we tuned into the old broadcast bands, heard snippets from across the seas, fragments of cultures re-emerging, of cities learning to walk again. A new Kyoto Institute researching bioengineered crops that regrew after wildfire. A South American coalition exploring geothermal grid independence. A Black Sea Alliance restoring trade through electric cargo skiffs. The world hadn't ended. It had just cracked open. And inside those cracks, something new was growing. One evening, a boy named Malik asked me, "Did you see the war?" I paused, thought about how to answer. About the satellites falling, the ports locked down, the coded attacks that never left a mark but scarred everything just the same. "I saw it," I said, "but I don't think I understood it until after." He frowned. "Did we win?" "No one did," I said, "but some of us survived, and some of us got wiser." He nodded, like that was good enough. Maybe it was. Years passed, enough that my hands no longer shook when I remembered the old days, enough that I could say Elena's name without bitterness, enough that sometimes, when I looked out at the hills glowing gold at sunset, I could imagine a future again. Not a perfect one, but a real one, built on ashes, yes, but also on seeds. Memory is a bridge. I'm an old man now. My knees creak. My voice has gravel. And some mornings I forget where I left my interface ring, even though we barely use them anymore. But memory still works. Most days. They say those who live through history rarely get to write it. That's left to the ones who come after. The scholars, the narrators, the AI curators piecing together a story from fragments and data ghosts. But they never feel it the way we did. They don't know what it meant to watch a superpower unravel in real time. To see ships rerouted mid-ocean, currencies devalued overnight, cities empty as people left in search of water and warmth. They don't know what it felt like to make a decision that could erase someone's future or your own. So I write this for them, for the ones who weren't there, for the ones who don't remember, and maybe for the ones who are starting to forget again. The world rebuilt itself as it always does, not into the same shape. That never happens. No, this world became woven instead of stacked, decentralized, local first, interlinked, but not entangled. Trade returned, but slowly, more honest, more expensive, less exploitative, at least in theory. There were no world police anymore, only clusters of trust, earned through deeds instead of treaties. There were still wars. Of course there were. But they were smaller, quieter, contained most of the time. And amid the cracks and quiet places, communities like ours bloomed. Greystone wasn't unique. There were thousands like it, maybe tens of thousands. Villages and towns that chose humility over empire, that used old tools and new wisdom to build something gentler. Malik grew up. He's our communications steward now, connects Greystone to other settlements through the Sky Mirror Relay, teaches kids how to splice fiber by hand. He reads my journal sometimes, shakes his head. You were wild, he tells me. Desperate, I say. Then lucky. Do you miss it? I don't answer for a while. I think of Amma, of Elena, of the blur between survival and betrayal, of the moment I chose to run and the long path that brought me here. Sometimes, I say, but not enough to go back. I don't know how long this record will last. Maybe some future archivist will dig it up and call it fiction. Maybe it'll just dissolve in the rain when the roof finally gives out. But if you're reading this, if you found these words in some corner of the world and wondered who we were and what we tried to do, then remember this. When the world fractured, it wasn't strength or power that saved us. It was honesty. It was community. It was the quiet, defiant choice to build something smaller and kinder in the ruins. Hold on to that. Build from that. And maybe, just maybe, the next collapse won't be the end of the world either.